In 2012, a neuroscientist discovered something that changed everything we knew about Alzheimer's disease. She found a hidden cleaning system inside your brain, one that science had missed for 100 years. It runs every single night, and the latest research shows that millions of people over 60 are unknowingly shutting it down. Not from disease, not from bad genetics, from ordinary things they do every evening before bed. Tonight I'm going to show you exactly how that system works, what turns it off, and what you can do, starting tonight, to protect your brain. I've spent years studying what the latest neuroscience actually says about aging and brain health. Not the headlines, not the supplement ads, the peer-reviewed research, the kind published in journals like Nature, Science, and the Annals of Neurology. And I'll tell you honestly, what I found in the last 5 years has surprised even me. By the end of this video, you're going to understand something most people, including most doctors, have never had explained clearly. You'll know what is happening inside your brain every night when you sleep, or when you don't sleep deeply enough. You'll recognize 5 specific things that are silently blocking your brain's cleaning system. You'll have 7 practical steps you can start tonight, backed by studies published in Nature Communications, the Journal of Gerontology, and the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. Let's start with a patient I want you to meet. Margaret is 68 years old, retired school principal from Cincinnati, Ohio. She came to see me not because of her sleep. She came because she'd started losing words mid-sentence. She'd be telling a story to her grandchildren, and the exact word she needed would just disappear. Gone. She'd stand there, fingers snapping, waiting for it to come back. She was terrified. She assumed the worst. When I asked about her sleep, she shrugged. She said she woke up around 3 in the morning almost every night, lay there for an hour or two, then drifted back off. She'd been doing that for 3 years. She assumed it was just menopause, just getting older. We ran a sleep study. Margaret was spending less than 12 minutes per night in stage 3 deep sleep. 12 minutes. The average for a healthy woman her age is 60 to 90 minutes. She was getting 12. I'm going to show you what was happening inside her brain during those hours she lay awake. Because once you understand it, those sleepless nights will never feel like a minor inconvenience again. For most of the 20th century, neuroscience faced a mystery it could not solve. How does the brain get rid of its waste? Every other organ in your body, your liver, your kidneys, your muscles, drains metabolic waste through the lymphatic system, a dedicated network of vessels that collects cellular garbage and routes it out of the body. Your brain doesn't have one, or so scientists thought. Then in 2012, a neuroscientist named Macon Nedergaard at the University of Rochester discovered something that upended 100 years of understanding. She found a completely unknown network of channels running alongside the brain's blood vessels, a shadow plumbing system that had never been seen. It pumped cerebrospinal fluid through the brain's tissue, collected metabolic waste, and drained it out through veins and into the lymphatic system of the neck. Nedergaard named it the glymphatic system, combining glial, for the brain support cells that power it, and lymphatic, for its similarity to the body's waste removal network. Here's the thing that stopped me cold when I first read her research. This system had been invisible to science not because it was rare or hidden in some obscure corner of the brain, but because it almost exclusively runs when you are asleep. During the day, it is essentially off. At night, when you enter deep sleep, it switches on. And it runs at 10 times the speed, not 10% better, 10 times more active than when you are awake. And what does it clean? 2 proteins that science has linked directly to Alzheimer's disease, amyloid-beta and tau. Think of your brain's glymphatic system as your overnight dishwasher. During the day, your neurons fire constantly, processing information, storing memories, running your body. All that activity produces metabolic debris. Amyloid-beta and tau, the proteins linked to Alzheimer's, pile up in the spaces between your brain cells, like dishes stacking up in the sink. When you fall into stage 3 deep sleep, what scientists call slow-wave sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain cells physically shrink, not by a little, by up to 60%. That shrinkage opens the channels between cells, like pulling the stopper from a drain, and cerebrospinal fluid rushes in along the arteries, sweeping through the tissue, collecting the amyloid and tau, and flushing them out through the veins. Nedergaard's team watched this happen in real time. They injected fluorescent dye into the brains of sleeping mice. During deep sleep, the dye spread through the brain 10 times faster than during wakefulness. This isn't a metaphor. It has been photographed and measured. And in January 2026, just months ago, a randomized crossover trial published in Nature Communications confirmed this directly in 39 human beings. For the first time, researchers measured Alzheimer's proteins being cleared from the brain into the bloodstream overnight in normal sleepers, and confirmed that sleep deprivation blocked that clearance entirely. Imagine squeezing water through a sponge. While you are awake, the pores are compressed. Fluid barely moves through. When you enter deep sleep, the pores open by 60% and the fluid flows freely. The brain's cleaning system is a literal pressure and flow mechanism, and we are only now beginning to understand how easily we disable it. Washington University researchers found that circadian rhythm disruptions, difficulty maintaining a consistent sleep-wake cycle, appeared in people who already had measurable amyloid plaques in their brains, but had zero cognitive symptoms. No memory loss, no confusion. Nothing a standard memory test could catch. This means that if you have been noticing your sleep has become irregular in recent years, you are waking at different times, you cannot fall asleep at your old bedtime, that pattern may be your brain's earliest warning signal that Alzheimer's pathology is already beginning to develop. Not a consequence of Alzheimer's, an early warning that precedes it. Your sleep schedule is not just a comfort issue, it may be a diagnostic signal. Your neurons produce amyloid as a normal byproduct of firing. Think of it like ash from a fireplace. Small amounts produced daily, invisible at first. The glymphatic system is supposed to sweep it out every night through the drain while you sleep. When sleep is disrupted, the drain does not fully open. The ash accumulates, not noticeably at first, over months, over years, until the buildup starts affecting function. Pathological amyloid accumulation can begin 15 to 20 years before the first symptom of Alzheimer's appears. Research published in 2024 confirmed that the damage you do to your sleep in your 50s may not show up as memory loss until your late 60s or 70s. The debt is silent. The bill arrives late. And by the time it does, by the time the first symptom appears, amyloid levels are already near peak. Tau normally lives inside neurons where it acts like scaffolding, keeping the internal structure of each neuron stable, allowing electrical signals to travel correctly. Think of it like the wiring harness inside your home's walls. You cannot see it, but it is holding everything together. Every light, every outlet, every switch depends on it working correctly. When your deep sleep is disrupted night after night, tau becomes destabilized. It detaches from the scaffolding, clumps together, and forms what researchers call neurofibrillary tangles, knotted clusters that begin killing neurons from the inside. And then, here is what separates tau from amyloid: it spreads. Once tau tangles form in one neuron, they propagate to neighboring neurons, like a crack in a window pane. It starts in one corner, but each bad night's sleep extends it further across the glass. A Washington University study showed that after 4 weeks of disrupted sleep in mice, tau tangles had spread further through the brain than in rested controls. The spread, not just the accumulation, is what drives progressive Alzheimer's. During wakefulness, tau levels in the fluid between your neurons are 90% higher than during sleep. Your brain produces it constantly. Sleep is the only time it gets cleared, every night. You might assume this damage takes years to accumulate. That one bad night is just one bad night. I need you to hear this clearly. An NIH-funded study used PET brain scanning, the same technology hospitals use to diagnose disease, to image 20 healthy adults after a single night of sleep deprivation. One night. Not a week, not a month, one night. The result? Measurable amyloid-beta accumulation in the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, and the thalamus, its relay hub, in 24 hours. In a separate crossover study from Washington University and Uppsala University, researchers collected cerebrospinal fluid from healthy volunteers after 36 hours without sleep. Tau levels rose by 51.5% compared to people who had slept normally, in one sleepless night. Every night of disrupted sleep is a deposit into a debt your brain may not be able to repay. Before we go further, I want you to do something right now. Think about last night. What time did you fall asleep? What time did you wake up? And did you fall back to sleep easily? How many times were you awake? Because what we're about to cover will tell you whether those answers matter more than you've been giving them credit for. By the time you reach your late 60s or early 70s, you may have lost 70 to 80% of the stage 3 deep sleep you had at age 25. Not because you are sleeping fewer hours, but because aging gradually deteriorates the brain's ability to generate the slow electrical waves that drive slow-wave sleep. Think of it like a pressure valve controlling your sprinkler system. Even if you run the sprinkler for 8 full hours, if the pressure valve is half closed, the water barely reaches the lawn. The dishwasher starts running shorter cycles right at the age when the dishes are dirtiest. Matthew Walker's lab at UC Berkeley found that even in older adults who already had measurable amyloid plaques on their brain scans, the ones who maintained higher amounts of deep sleep still had significantly less memory impairment than those with poor deep sleep. High-quality deep sleep was acting as a buffer, a cognitive reserve factor, even in the presence of existing pathology. This means protecting your deep sleep is not just about prevention. It may be one of the most powerful things you can do, even if risk is already elevated. Researchers have also found something called sleep spindles, brief bursts of electrical activity that occur in NREM stage 2, just before deep sleep. These spindles are directly correlated with amyloid burden. Fewer spindles, more plaque. They may be one of the earliest measurable signals that the cleaning system is beginning to fail. Robert is 71 years old, retired mail carrier from Denver, Colorado. He'd snored for as long as his wife could remember. He slept 7, sometimes 8 hours a night, and assumed he was fine. But Robert had started repeating stories. Not occasionally, the same story, word for word, twice in the same evening. His sleep study revealed severe obstructive sleep apnea. His airway was collapsing between 40 and 60 times per hour. Each time that happened, his brain jolted briefly back toward wakefulness to restore breathing, never reaching stage 3 deep sleep. He was in bed for 8 hours and his brain's cleaning cycle was barely running. Robert started CPAP therapy. 6 months later, his memory test scores had improved measurably. His wife told me the repeated stories stopped within the first month. Robert thought he was sleeping. He wasn't. His brain was fighting to breathe all night and paying the price in amyloid. Here is my question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your answer below. Has anyone in your life, a spouse, a partner, a sibling, ever told you that you snore heavily or stop breathing in your sleep? How long have you been living with that? And how long did you tell yourself it was just part of getting older? Tell me in the comments your age, whether you've ever been tested for sleep apnea, and what you thought it was. You may be surprised how many people watching right now share exactly your story. Obstructive sleep apnea is one of the most underdiagnosed conditions in adults over 60. Hundreds of millions of people worldwide have it, and the majority have no idea. OSA is independently associated with elevated amyloid-beta and tau in cerebrospinal fluid and on PET brain scans, even in people with no cognitive symptoms. A large study using the ADNI cohort found that people with sleep apnea developed mild cognitive impairment at younger ages than those without it. CPAP therapy is showing early signals of actually normalizing Alzheimer's biomarkers in cerebrospinal fluid. If you snore heavily, if you wake up tired despite a full night's sleep, if you find yourself drowsy every afternoon, these are not inconveniences. Ask your doctor about a home sleep test. Many are now covered by Medicare and can be done entirely at home. A glass of wine in the evening, maybe 2. It feels relaxing. A nightcap. Here is what is actually happening. Alcohol suppresses NREM stage 3, deep sleep, specifically the stage that drives your brain's cleaning process. A study from Brown University published in 2024 in the journal Sleep confirmed that even moderate pre-sleep alcohol alters sleep architecture, cutting both deep sleep and REM sleep, even when total sleep time looks completely normal. It is like running your dishwasher on a rinse-only setting every night. The machine runs, it makes all the sounds, but the actual cleaning cycle never kicks in. This does not mean one occasional glass is a catastrophe. But if you are having a drink most evenings and your sleep quality has declined, this connection deserves your serious attention. Even moving the glass earlier, before dinner rather than after, gives your body more time to metabolize the alcohol before deep sleep begins. Researchers at Stony Brook University used dynamic contrast MRI to study glymphatic clearance across different sleep positions. Stomach sleeping showed the worst clearance of all positions, essentially mimicking the efficiency of being awake. Back sleeping was better. Side sleeping consistently showed the most efficient amyloid removal. Researchers speculate this may be why side sleeping is the most common sleep position across almost all mammals. It may have evolved specifically to optimize brain waste clearance. If you sleep on your stomach, try shifting to your side tonight. Place a pillow behind your back if you tend to roll. This is a zero-cost change. Chronic psychological stress elevates cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. Elevated nighttime cortisol directly suppresses NREM slow-wave sleep. The pathway is direct. Stress leads to elevated cortisol, which leads to suppressed deep sleep, which leads to impaired glymphatic clearance, which causes amyloid and tau to accumulate. A 2024 study confirmed that elevated nighttime cortisol is independently associated with lower slow-wave sleep and higher amyloid burden, even after controlling for other risk factors. People under chronic stress often report that they slept fine because they were unconscious for 7 or 8 hours. But unconscious and deeply asleep are not the same thing. Total hours is the least reliable measure of whether your brain's cleaning system ran properly last night. The research tells a complicated story. A UK biobank study following over 830,000 women for 17 years found that long sleep duration, over 9 hours, was associated with higher dementia risk. A separate meta-analysis published in 2024 found that sleeping over 8 hours was associated with a 64% increased risk of incident dementia and twice the Alzheimer's risk compared to 7 to 8 hours. Why? Excessive sleep may itself be an early symptom of brain changes already underway. The answer is not more hours. The answer is better hours. A person sleeping 8 hours with fragmented deep sleep may accumulate more amyloid than someone sleeping 6.5 hours of architecturally intact, uninterrupted sleep. A consistent sleep-wake schedule is the single most powerful habit for maintaining circadian rhythm integrity. Research shows that even small daily variations in sleep timing, shifting by as little as 30 to 60 minutes, can reduce deep sleep architecture. Go to bed within 30 minutes of the same time every night. Wake up within 30 minutes of the same time every morning, including weekends. If you have a nightly glass of wine or spirits, consider either reducing frequency or shifting it at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. This is not about abstinence. It is about timing and frequency. A 2025 research review confirmed that aerobic exercise directly enhances glymphatic function through multiple mechanisms. It increases cerebrospinal fluid influx, improves AQP4 water channel orientation, reduces neuroinflammation, and increases slow-wave sleep duration. The research sweet spot: 30 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic movement most days, brisk walking, cycling, swimming, not late in the evening. Your core body temperature needs to drop 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate and sustain deep sleep. Sleep environments between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit consistently show improved deep sleep quality. A warm bath 1 to 2 hours before bed helps. It draws blood to the surface, and when you exit, the cool down is the physiological trigger for deep sleep onset. Not the bath, the cool down after it. This may be the highest leverage action available. Signs to discuss with your doctor: heavy snoring, waking feeling unrested despite adequate hours, unexplained afternoon drowsiness, and reports from a partner that you stop breathing in your sleep. Ask about a home sleep study. Many are covered by Medicare. Because elevated cortisol directly suppresses deep sleep, an evening wind down is not optional comfort. It is a physiological requirement. Reduce light exposure 1 hour before bed. Take 10 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing to lower nighttime cortisol. Avoid stressful news, difficult conversations, or high-stimulation content in the 60 minutes before bed. You cannot sprint to the finish line of deep sleep. You have to walk there. Side sleeping consistently outperforms back sleeping and significantly outperforms stomach sleeping in glymphatic clearance studies. Either side works. The research does not favor one over the other. A body pillow behind your back makes it easier to maintain the position. A randomized 12-week trial in 66 adults showed that marine-based omega-3 fatty acids significantly improved sleep efficiency scores compared to placebo. A 2025 review confirmed DHA and EPA may also reduce amyloid-beta aggregation and neuroinflammation directly. If you are not getting regular servings of fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, this is a well-researched, low-risk addition worth discussing with your doctor. Research has found that intermittent fasting improves AQP4 water channel polarization, essentially improving the drainage efficiency of the glymphatic system. This is a lesser-known mechanism of fasting's brain benefits, entirely separate from its metabolic or anti-inflammatory effects. Sandra is 64 years old, retired bookkeeper from Tucson, Arizona. She had no dramatic presenting symptom, just a low-grade worry that she was not quite as sharp as she used to be. That words took a half-second longer to arrive. That she needed to read something twice before it stuck. She slept on her stomach every night. She had a glass of wine most evenings. After dinner, unwinding in front of the television. She exercised sporadically. She went to bed whenever her show ended. Sometimes 11, sometimes closer to midnight. She shifted to her side. She moved her wine to before dinner. She started a 25-minute morning walk 5 days a week. She set a consistent bedtime of 10:15, every night, including weekends. 18 months later, her subjective memory complaints were gone. Her processing felt sharp again. She told me something I think about often. I did not realize how foggy I had been living, until the fog started to lift. Picture a Tuesday morning 6 months from now. You wake up at your usual time. You actually feel rested. Not just horizontal for 8 hours, but genuinely, clearly rested. You are at the breakfast table and your grandchild asks you a question. The word you need comes to you immediately. The name you have been trying to place for a week. You already have it. That is not a fantasy. That is what your brain is capable of when the cleaning system runs the way it was designed to run. Your brain has a built-in waste clearance system, the glymphatic system, discovered only in 2012. It runs during deep sleep and is 10 times more active than during wakefulness. It clears two Alzheimer's-linked proteins, amyloid-beta and tau, from your brain every night. One bad night raises amyloid in your memory center on PET scans. One sleepless night raises tau levels by more than 50%. These proteins begin accumulating 15 to 20 years before any symptom appears. Deep sleep quality, not total hours, is what determines whether the cleaning cycle runs fully. Aging reduces deep sleep. Alcohol suppresses it. Stress blocks it. Sleep apnea eliminates it. Stomach sleeping impairs it. But the solutions are just as evidence-backed. Consistent sleep timing, aerobic morning movement, temperature management, side sleeping, sleep apnea diagnosis and treatment, and a real wind-down routine that gives your cortisol time to fall before the cleaning cycle begins. Your brain is trying to clean itself every single night. Everything you have learned today is about not getting in the way. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe. Every week I bring you something from the scientific literature that could genuinely change how you feel and how long you stay sharp. This is the kind of research that too often stays locked in academic journals. It belongs in your living room. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, how many hours of sleep do you get most nights? And do you wake up actually feeling rested? There is a difference. And I think a lot of you watching right now know exactly what I mean. Tell me your experience below. I read every single comment.